نبدأ نرنم. احنا اوريدي متأخرين. من لي سواك يحميني. 1 2 3. من لي سواك يحميني من كل شر قائمين. من لي سواك يحميني من كل شر قائمين. من لي سواك يرويني من كل نبع فائض. من لي سواك يرويني من كل نبع فائض. أنت إلهي لا سواك. أنت إلهي لا سواك. أنت إلهي لا سواك. أنت إلهي لا سواك. من لي سواك سيدي يملأ فراغ وحدتي. من لي سواك سيدي يملأ فراغ وحدتي. من لي كمرشدي يهمس لي في خلوتي. من لي سواك مرشدي يهمس لي في خلوتي. أنت إلهي لا سواك. أنت إلهي لا سواك. أنت إلهي لا سواك. أنت إلهي لا سواك. كيف أخاف في الطريق وأنت لي نبع الرجاء. كيف أخاف في الطريق لي نبع الرجاء. كيف بدونك أسير في عالم بلا عزاء. كيف بدونك أسير في عالم بلا عذاب. أنت إلهي لا سواك. أنت إلهي لا سواك. أنت إلهي لا سواك. أنت إلهي لا سواك. آتي إليك ضارعا فانظر لدمعي من عولاك. آتي إليك ضارعا فانظر لدمعي من عولاك. انظر إلي ساندا حتى أعيش في رضاك. انظر إلي ساندا حتى أعيش في رضاك. أنت إلهي لا سواك. أنت إلهي لا سواك. أنت إلهي لا سواك. أنت إلهي لا سواك. تعيشوا وترنموا.
Hi guys, how are you? Those of you who are in the back, if you could move forward, please. I'm not very loud, so it would help me a lot. Unless you have a kid and you need to stay in the back, I get it. Those Nesta Dawara, if you can come forward, that would be great. Please, for me, I beg you, please. Thank you. If you came up even just a little bit, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, let me connect. No, that's not what I want. Let's do slideshow. All right. Thank you. Okay, let's start in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. If you're able to come forward, I would love it. As you guys know, I understand Arabic really well. I don't speak it. So if there is a word that you want translated, I'm going to pick Michael as our translator. I actually went on, let me page forward. So today we're talking about resilience, and I did go to Google Translate and found this word. Is that correct? Sounds correct. So we'll get to this slide, but this is what we're talking about today. Resilience is, can you say it for me? Maruna? Okay. I can't say that. This is what we're talking about. Resilience in marriage. Resilience in marriage. So just remember that word. It's only on this slide. I should have put it on more slides, but I wasn't sure if it was correct, so I just put it there. So that's what we're talking about today. Resilience, right? How, as couples, as married people, we can face life's problems. And I'm not going to make you raise your hands, but who here, as a married person, has encountered problems all the time, every week, all the time? And that's so normal. It's so normal, okay? Marriage is one of the holy 7 sacraments, right? It's a beautiful, beautiful gift from God, but it's a journey that's full of challenges. You guys know that I'm a therapist, right? And I've seen a lot of couples who struggle. And myself and my husband, we've been together for 18 years. We've had periods of struggle, just like any other couple. And do people struggle because they don't love each other? Is that why couples fight? Because they don't love each other? Is that the problem? Not really. Not really. It's really because they haven't learned how to handle problems together. The love is usually there. Usually it's still there, unless it's been years, decades, and maybe it's harder to find that love. But at least when we're starting off and we're trying to figure it out, you still kind of like that person and you love that person, but you don't know how to handle the difficulties together. And it makes sense because as Christians, we're taught that I am not perfect, my husband is not perfect. There is no perfect person except for Christ, right? So when you get married, you're putting one imperfect person with another imperfect person together. 2 different people that are not perfect. So what's going to happen? You're going to disagree. You're going to have challenges. It's part of marriage, right? You have different backgrounds. Even if you're both Egyptian, I'm Egyptian, my husband's Egyptian. We are raised differently. Our parents are different. He's an only child. I have 2 siblings. He was born in Egypt. I was born here. He's lived in many different places. I have only lived here, except for one 6-year period where I said, I just want to go back to Boston. So I have only lived here. So 2 different people, 2 backgrounds, 2 personalities, 2 values are usually the same, but some preferences are different. So there's going to be struggles. There's research, of course. Yeah. Sure. Okay. All right, so we're gonna, No, it's okay. So we did translate the word resilience, and Michael helped me. So yeah, we can translate every so often. Sure, we'll just keep watching the time. Okay, thank you. Do you want to do a couple slides, Hiba, and a summary of a couple slides? Okay. So the biggest things, and I'm preaching to the choir, right? You all probably know this because everybody here is married, and you know what you fight about. But just so you don't feel like you're crazy, like, are we the only people that fight about this, is what The biggest categories that people fight about when they're married are finances, money, like financial struggles, in-laws, extended family, pressure from the family, sex and intimacy, usually lack of intimacy, lack of sex, or not on the same page, and division of labor. So who does what in the house? Who does what with the kids? Who is getting up with the baby? Who's changing the diaper? Who's driving so-and-so to soccer? All of those little things. Who's doing what, right? It's called the division of labor. There's a lot of other things that we argue about, but those are the big ones. And again, the goal is not to avoid the struggle, but to navigate them with faith and resilience, okay? Translate or keep going? Okay. So here is that word, what resilience is, okay? So resilience is, let's understand what it is, right? What it is and what it isn't. Like we said, it's the ability to adapt, so to change when needed, to recover, right? To get better, and to grow through hardships. That's resilience. A person, an individual person, can be resilient, and we know people like these where, you know, something happens and they're very like faithful, nishkur rabbina, everything's okay, I'm thankful, it could have been worse, they see the bright side, or they deal with the problem and then they bounce back. Same thing with couples, that's resilience. It's not avoiding, as couples, it's not avoiding the problems are gonna happen, but facing them as a team and coming out stronger. So bouncing back from difficulties, instead of letting problems push you apart, you can bounce back and do it together, and maybe even deepen your marriage bond together. Resilience is adjusting to change. So change in marriage is gonna happen. When you're first married, you're a newlywed, it's great. And then a few years in, you're married for a few years. And then you have kids, your marriage changes. And then your kids get older, maybe a parent passes away, or it changes you. So I am not the person who I was 18 years ago. And I think most of you will agree, depending on where you are in your marriage, you are a different person. I mean, who you are at your root is the same, but as we age, you know, when my kids move out, that's a change. Resilient couples adjust to that change, right? And resilience is growing through hardship, right? They say gold is purified through fire. Strong marriages and resilient marriages are strengthened and they grow through challenges. It's not easy. I am not the poster child for resilient marriages. Like, I struggle just like everybody else, but we all know it's worth it. I'll do this next one and then. Resilience is not. It's not a lot of things, but let's talk about three main things. Avoiding or denying problems. We're two people that are not perfect. We're going to have problems. Ignoring an issue doesn't make it go away. It might work for 1 day, 1 week, 1 year, 5 years. Guess what? It's going to come up. It's never going to go away. I'm guilty of this, I will admit. You know, we just say, whatever. He hasn't brought it up well, it's not an issue. And related to that is pretending that everything's fine. Being strong and resilient doesn't mean never feeling upset or frustrated or disappointed. If things aren't fine, they aren't fine. And it doesn't help anybody to pretend and not acknowledge that something's going on. Or saying everything's fine and everything's not fine. Or I'm fine when you're not fine. And resilience is not never experiencing conflict. I doubt, I see this more in people who are dating or engaged, where they will say to me, and usually people I counsel or I meet, well, they say, we never fight. And I'm like, this is a red flag, right? So number one, either it's really early, maybe, it's really, really early, that's fine, and maybe the fighting hasn't started yet. Number two, maybe you guys aren't really talking about anything, because as soon as you start to talk about the things that are finances, how are we gonna divide up our house, are we gonna have kids, how are we gonna raise them, like the tough questions, it brings up disagreements. So it could be many things. My guess it's one of those things. So if they say we never fight, I shouldn't say fight. We never disagree, because it doesn't have to be a fight. We never disagree. We never are on different pages. We don't have struggles. There's something wrong there. So that's not resilience. Some
سامحوني انا جيت متاخر فما سمعتش المقدمه، بس ميري قالت في الاول احنا في الحياه الزوجيه شخصيات جميله وكل واحد حلو وكل حاجه، بس ما فيش حد 100% كامل، فلازم نبقى شايفين بعض وعارفين ان الكمال بس ليسوع. كل واحد فينا فيه نقائص وفي حاجات بيشتغل عليها وكده. وبعدين الهدف من الجواز مش ان احنا نتفادى المشاكل او نتفادى الصراعات او نتفادى الحاجات اللي احنا بنواجهها، لكن ان احنا نكبر مع بعض عن طريق الايمان وناخد يسوع في المشوار ونمشي فيه بحيث ان احنا نقدر نستمر ونكبر مع بعض روحيا وجسديا. الموضوع الكبير يعني هو المرونة في العلاقة الزوجية. هي قالت ان اكتر المشاكل اللي بتحصل هي هتحط يعني سبوت لايت كده على 4 حاجات. اول حاجة الماديات في العلاقة الزوجية، وبعدين الحموات، الحما، الاخوات، المتطلبات بتاعة الأسرة بتاعة كل واحد، المشاكل في العلاقة الحميمة ما بين الزوج والزوجة، والارتباط الجسدي ما بينهم، دي بتعمل مشاكل السكس. The fourth one was what? Oh, the role playing. ورابع حاجة هي الأدوار، إزاي بنصنف دور كل واحد في الجواز، مين مسؤول عن إيه، الرؤية بقى التراديشنال مش تراديشنال وكده. المرونة في العلاقة هي في الأساس 3 حاجات كبار، إن إحنا إزاي لما نخوض التجارب ونخوض المشاكل أو الاختلاف في الآراء نرجع لنقطة التقاء أقرب، مش نبعد عن بعض. يعني مش كل مشكلة تخلينا نبعد عن بعض زي ما بيحصل، لكن نقرب، ونقطة الالتقاء لما نتصافى تبقى نقطة قريبة. المرونة برضو هي إن الواحد يتأقلم على التغيير. احنا ابتدينا علاقتنا الأساس بتاع الشخصية هو، لكن مع الزواج ومع مرور السنين والخلفة والظروف الحياتية الواحد بيتغير، فإن احنا ننمو مع بعض ونتأقلم على التغييرات ومتطلبات الحياة، وإن احنا ما نشوفش الصعوبات على إنها نشوفها على إنها فرصة إن احنا نكبر سوا ونبقى قوة أكتر مش أبعد. والمرونة في العلاقة لا ينطبق عليها الهروب أو عدم الاعتراف بالاختلافات أو اختلاف وجهة النظر أو المشاكل. كنا ما نتكلمش عن حاجة وطنش وكبر دماغي، مش بتنفع. وحتى لو طنشت في حاجة مضايقاني قوي أو جرحاني، بعد شوية الحاجة دي بتطلع. برضو مش ان انا اخبي مشاعري ويعني ده مش قلة ان انا بشكر ربنا او قلة شكر، لكن مهم ان الواحد يبقى صادق مع مشاعره. لو في حاجة مضايقاني، حاجة معصباني، من حقي ان انا اقولها. واخر حاجة، اقلقوا لو تعرفوا حد ما بيتخانقش لان ما بيحصلش او بيختلفوا زي ما ميري قالت. بلاش كلمة خناق، اختلاف الآراء، يا اما لسه حبايبي كتاكيت متجوزين بقى وفي شهر العسل وكده، يا اما كابتين حاجات كتيرة او مش بيتكلموا بعمق كفاية.
Maybe they're talking about other people. Still a problem, but a different kind of problem. Okay, I don't know what happened there. Okay, so just to illustrate this, we're going to talk about one analogy, and then we're going to talk about how to become more resilient. Just very straightforward. Okay, I like this analogy of the palm tree versus the oak tree. Okay, so this is an oak tree. Oak tree is tall. It's a beautiful tree. It stands tall, but it's rigid. But what happens, I've lived here my whole life, so I've lived through hurricanes. I don't know how long some of you have lived here. What happens to a lot of trees like this when there's a strong windstorm or like a hurricane? What happens to it? This is what it does, right? I was here in the 80s. There was a hurricane called Hurricane Hugo, 86 maybe, and there was my neighbors had a huge oak tree just like this and fell within inches of my dad's car. Actually, it's very close. So it's big, it's strong, but it doesn't move. It's not flexible, okay? In contrast, a palm tree, right? What happens to the palm tree when there's a hurricane? It bends, but then it comes back. It bends, but it doesn't break, right? After the storm passes, what happens? It goes back up. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful tree. If you've ever been, I hope you've never been on vacation during a hurricane, but if you've seen it on TV, you see they go back and forth and back and forth. So a resilient marriage is like the palm tree, right? It bends under pressure, under that high wind, but it doesn't break. It adjusts, it survives, it continues to grow. And another small analogy to think about is, think of resilience like a muscle, right? To grow muscles, what do we have to do? We have to work on them every day. How do we make them stronger? The more we use it, the more we put into it, the stronger it is. So it needs to be trained, right? They say that some level, like some people are more resilient than others genetically. There's some debate about that. But it is something that can definitely be learned as an individual and as a couple. So let's talk about how we can do that, right? The first thing is resilient couples and people see the big picture. And what is the big picture? Our marriage as a whole, right? When we disagree, when we're in conflict, it's easy to focus on one hurtful moment, or to keep bringing back, remember 5 years ago when your mom was here and she said blah, 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 and you didn't do this, even though you've already, and then next argument, remember 5 years ago, and I know we're all guilty of this, is that we bring it up and we focus on one hurtful moment and we don't take a step back and look at the whole relationship, right? You've been married for 10, 15 years, 5 years, you have children, there are wonderful parts of your marriage, right? Take a step back and ask yourself, is this disagreement worth it, right? Is it worth, if it's not something that you're easily going through, ask, is it damaging our bond? In the grand scheme of things, looking at the big picture, how can we work through this rather than against each other? How will this matter in 1 week, 1 month, 1 day? Is it really gonna matter? Like, is this something worth arguing about? And Mina and I will do this all the time. Sometimes, I remember we were at the airport at like 3 o'clock in the morning and we're fighting about, I don't even know what. And then we look at each other and we were like, I don't even know what we're fighting about. Do you know what we're fighting about? He's like, I don't know what we're fighting about. And then we're like, all right, let's start over. Because we were exhausted and hungry. Nobody had coffee. You know what I mean? Like we all, like, if you're hungry, if you're tired, if you're stressed, take a pause and say like, hold on, right? Like, is this worth it? Is this an issue that really needs to be discussed, or can I let this go, right? And big picture means the marriage is more than one argument, one problem. Every marriage has ups and downs. Remember, we said 2 imperfect people, we're gonna have ups and downs. Just don't let the downs make you forget the good, right? And then along with that, I would say strengthen your friendship with your spouse, right? Like have fun, stay connected, go on dates. I know it's harder when your kids are little. A date can even be, they're sleeping, we're gonna watch a movie together. Or a show, if you have an infant and they don't sleep longer than 30 minutes, we'll watch a show together. Even that, any little thing where you pay attention to each other, that counts. So, and small acts of kindness, and I will say this, I know I'm being recorded, so hopefully Mina will watch this, is that Mina brings me coffee every morning in bed, and it's the sweetest thing, and it's so kind, and it means so much to me. So maybe I'll get some points there. I'll have you, I think there's 5 of these, so I'll have you do a quick synopsis for each point, if that's okay.
Go back just because no, oh, that's the big, yeah, no? Okay. So, المرونة في العلاقة الكابل اللي عندهم مرونة في العلاقة بتاعتهم مش بيفسفسوا، بيشوفوا دايما الحياة الزوجية من منظور عالي شوية زي الهليكوبتر كده باصص لتحت، مش بيخشوا في المواقف الصغيرة. لما بيبتدوا يخشوا في المواقف الصغيرة ويفتكروا انت قلت وانا قلت ومامتك عملت وفاكر من 5 سنين واصل الموضوع، ويقعدوا يفكروا بعض بالمواقف الصغيرة اللي مش ظريفة اللي بتحصل، بيفقدوا النظر على الجوازة نفسها او على علاقتهم اللي اكبر. فالناس اللي عندها مرونة لازم تبص من فوق. بعدين ماري قالت حاجة حلوة قوي، مرونة مش من الحاجات اللي هي طبع نقدر نقول لا أنا طبعي كده، أنا طبعي عصبي، أنا واخد جينات مش عارف مين. هي بيقولوا يمكن تبقى في الجينات، بس هي حاجة مؤكد إنها ممكن أي حد في الزوج أو الزوجة يشتغلوا عليها ويكتسبوها مع بعض وتكون حاجة في علاقتهم. الحاجة التانية إنه دايما بيفتكروا الحلو مع على قد ما بيفتكروا الوحش. يعني لما عشان الاتنين فيهم نقائص، كل واحد فينا فيه عيوب، فلما بيجي حاجات تحت وحاجات فوق، مواقف حلوة مواقف وحشة، بنفتكر الحلو على قد ما بنفتكر الوحش. مش بنطنش كل الحلو ونقول لا أصله مش فارق ونمسك بس الحاجة الصغيرة.
Sorry, I don't have a lot of notes on the screen for you. No, you got the gist of it, I think. I think you got the gist of it. Yeah. Sorry, I kept the screen very, very little. This one is, yeah. So I know we talk about this a lot, and there's a reason why we talk about this a lot. And I will tell you, I am the first one. I need this reminder every day in my life and my marriage with my children. Resilient couples and resilient people stay open and keep constant communication, right? So as couples, we have to be open to growth and feedback and change. And this happens by using open and honest communication. So instead of just thinking, this is how I am this way, people who are resilient and spouses who are resilient say, how can I improve? And they have that conversation. How can I improve? One of the first things that weakens a marriage under stress is poor communication, right? Poor communication is one of the first things. When couples are able to talk honestly and kindly, so not just honestly and kindly and lovingly, the big issues don't become big issues. The small issues stay small issues. But if they stop talking honestly and kindly, those small issues become big issues. And we've all seen it, right? A resilient marriage is where both people feel heard, valued, and emotionally safe, meaning I feel safe telling you how I feel. I know you may not like it, but I feel safe. I feel like I can trust you, right? So practically, what does this look like? Active listening, which means listening while paying attention. So actually hearing what the other person is saying, listening to understand, not to respond. I think I'm gonna keep saying I'm guilty of this, but sometimes when my husband starts talking, I immediately are thinking of like, oh no, but I did, but like how I'm gonna respond. No, I didn't. Well, my excuse. When the truth is, when somebody is saying how they feel, that's how they feel. Even if you didn't mean to make them feel that way, they feel that way. So you're listening to understand them, not to just defend yourself, right? And ask yourself, am I listening to my husband or my wife's feelings, or am I just preparing what I'm gonna say back, right? Also helps to express your needs clearly. Instead of saying, you never help me, you never. First we said, don't use those words never and always, right? We don't use those words in a discussion or an argument. Say something like, I statements, I've been feeling overwhelmed and I would love some help with this specific task, right? Be as specific and express your needs clearly, because there are specific things that you need, or whatever it is. And then the next one is daily, weekly, every so often check-in. How are we doing? How are you feeling? How can I support you? I'll share one thing. I don't know if you can see this. Okay, I just made this today because I realized that my husband and I really need some more check-ins. So I actually asked ChatGPT to make me this. I'm going to be honest. So ChatGPT made me this wonderful thing to check in. I don't know if you can read it, but it's, every week we need to check in how we're doing. So it has different categories: communication, trust, quality time, affection, conflict resolution, support, etc. And then little emojis. Was it good? Was it neutral? Fine? Or needs improvement? And then comments. So we haven't done it yet. So the next time I come talk to you, I'll tell you if it's any good. And you don't have to do this. It's just even 5 minutes of, how we doing? Are we okay, right? Like, is everything okay? Without the kids, without the TV, without the phone, without any electronics, right? Without any distraction, just a few minutes. And I know everyone's busy, and I know everyone's tired. Believe me, I know it. And I know kids are there all the time. They're everywhere. 5 minutes, okay?
نسيت حاجتين ميري كانت قالتهم ايجابيين. لو تعبانين، جعانين، عطشانين، مش نايمين، ما تتكلموش. خدوا بريك، احبسوا نفسكم في اوضه، لما تعملوا الحاجات دي اطلعوا ارغوا مع بعض. والحاجه الثانيه اللي قالتها افتكروا دايما تمضوا وقت حميم لطيف مع بعض، حتى لو هتخطفوا قاعدة على الكنبة سوا، تشربوا كوباية شاي، تتفرجوا على حلقة مع بعض والعيال نايمة، مجرد أي اكتيفيتي ظريفة. الحاجة الحلوة اللي هي قالتها، and I love this talk by the way. قالت أهم حاجة لما بنيجي نتكلم، الحوار هو أساس طبعا العلاقة الزوجية والبيت، إن لازم الاتنين يبقوا حاسين بأمان، إنهم قادرين يقولوا لبعض مشاعرهم، مش دايما خايف يقول اللي قدامه مشاعره، إن في احترام وفي لغة لطيفة بتتقال ما بينهم، وإن اللي قدامه أنا حاسس إنه بيسمعني. وطبعا احنا اتكلمنا كتير عن أساليب الحوار الإيجابية، من ضمنها إن أنا لما أجي أسمع اللي قدامي أديله اهتمامي، يعني أبقى باصص له وسامعه علشان عايز أسمعه للآخر، مش عايز الملخص. الحاجة التانية هي إن لازم نمنع الكلمات الجارحة، بلاش دايما وعمرك، دايما وعمرك، اصل انت اصلك وفصلك، الجمل السلبيه اللي هي بنثبت فيها الحوار من اوله دي تتمنع خالص، بالعكس نقلبها في اسلوب ايجابي. يعني هي قالت احسن حاجه ان انا اقول، حتى لو هقول بشكل مباشر ودقيق، انا عندي مشكله في الحته دي، انا مش قادره اعمل، وخليني دقيقه جدا في طلبي، مش قادره اخلي بالي من العيال في الوقت ده، انا مش قادره اعمل كذا. كل ما كنا محددين في طلبنا وبنلصق المشاعر بتاعه الطلب، يعني انا حاسه بارهاق في ده، مش حياتي كلها نكد وانت عمرك ما جيت البيت وعمرك ما شفتني، لا، هي موضوع في حاجه شويه. الحاجه التانية ان احنا كل شويه نحكي مع بعض، اخبارنا ايه، يعني احنا الدنيا ماشيه كويس، انت ضايقت مني في حاجه، طب ايه، طب في حاجه اقدر اساعدك بيها. يعني لطيف ميري قلبت كل الحاجات اللي بتقلب خناقات لاسلوب حوار ايجابي، ممكن نمنع الخناقه لو بقينا نتحاور مع بعض بشكل ايجابي.
Okay, so couples and people who are resilient know their blind spots. So what does that mean? Like, you know, when you are, like when you're not driving a horse, they have blinders on, right? Like this, so they can't see, or they don't see what's there. And sometimes as people, we do the same thing. Like, I am so patient. I am so kind. I don't have any problems with this. I don't have any problems with that. And I will say that marriage, really, if you pay attention, will show you your weaknesses. Because before that, because it's the closest relationship you will ever have. Like, your mom loves you no matter what. Your dad loves you no matter what. Your siblings, you know, you love them. Sometimes you fight. Your friends, for the most part, they might point out some things that are going on, but friends are usually positive. It's your spouse that will say, you know that you do this, right? And everybody has a weakness, right? We said 2 imperfect people. And we don't always see it, you know, whether we're impatient or defensive or we withdraw during a fight. Those blind spots can cause frustration and distance. So don't ignore them, right? And don't become defensive when your husband or your wife points it out. Couples who are resilient accept constructive feedback. So constructive feedback means when somebody tells you something in a helpful way, right? Like, I've noticed that you've become a little defensive when we discuss things, and I say it because I care about you, and let's talk about ways we can fix it. Constructive, right, with solutions. So a practical tip is to ask for honest feedback from your spouse. And these are hard questions because sometimes we don't want to know the answers. So make a, you know, again, a space where you guys are comfortable, where you're not, you know, where you're in a good space together, where you're sharing with each other, where there's not a lot of conflict going on, and say, is there an area where I can improve as your husband or wife? And meaning, like, I wish you, not like, I wish you would cook better, like that. That's not what we're going for. We're going for, like, I wish you would, you know, maybe ask me more about my day. I've noticed that that you're often distracted. Or is there something I do that makes you feel unheard or unappreciated? This is hard to ask. Like, as As proud individuals, it's hard to ask this question. Do you feel loved and supported by me, right? I think you need to prepare yourself, whatever the answer is, and to accept it, right? Not just ask it, but accept it. Sometimes we don't want to know the answers, but we should.
في العلاقة الزوجية أصعب حاجة، يعني من أصعب الحاجات، هي إن الواحد بيخش، طبعا كل واحد فينا فيه ضعفات، بس مش بنكون شايفين نقط الضعف اللي جوانا. وبما إن العلاقة الزوجية هي أكتر علاقة حميمة وأطول علاقة في حياتنا، ومش يعني الزوج أو الزوجة مش بابا وماما قابلنا زي ما احنا مسامحيننا، مش أصدقاء بيروحوا بيتهم آخر اليوم مالهمش دعوة أو يعني يقولوا كلمة وخلاص بينشتوا. لا، بيبقى فيه جزء احنا مش شايفينه، وساعات الزوج او الزوجه بيلفت نظرنا له. الرياكشن على طول بتكون ان الواحد يحمي نفسه ويخش في نقطه ان انا لازم اصد الحرب اللي عليا. فدي بتعمل مصادمات كتير. نقبل ان تتقال بدل بتتقال بلطف. يعني الحاجة الكبيرة جدا هي النقطة التانية، هي constructive feedback، مش يعني النقد البناء، بس عشان أي حد بيترجم، هي مش نقد، هي مش نقد. feedback is not نقد، it's not criticism. feedback is إن الواحد يدي يعني رأيه في موضوع، علشان لما نخش في الموضوع التاني ده أو نعدي في نفس الحاجة نطلع منه بشكل أفضل. فهي حاجة إيجابية، هي ما فيهاش كلمة نقد خالص. فدي مهمة قوي، الحنية. حاجة فيها لطف، لكن داخل فيها برضو إن أنا بقترح أو بقول بصراحة وبأمانة الحاجة اللي مضايقاني من الشخص اللي قدامي، أو بوضح له نقطة ضعفه، لكن هدفي مش إني أجرحه ومش إني أذله أو أكسر نفسه، لكن إني أديله إيه البديل بتاعها. من الناحية التانية، بدل ما احنا نبقى على طول بنصد وجاهزين أول ما نسمع أنا محضر ردودي، لا، أنا بسمع عشان اللي قدامي من حقه يحس، ودي كانت قالتها قبل كده وأنا ما ترجمتهاش، من حقه يحس، فأقبل ده، وفي نفس الوقت ما بقاش بس بصد، لكن أسمع وأحاول أقبل. حاجة صعبة الدرجة الأعلى منها إن أنا أروح لزوجي أو زوجتي وأقول له ايه اللي انا بعمله اللي مش محسسك ان انا بحبك كفايه، او ايه اللي ممكن اكون عملته جرحك او ضايق كرامتك او جيت عليك في حاجه او جيت عليكي في حاجه. سؤال صعب، بس لو سالناه بتواضع الدنيا هتبقى حلوه يعني.
It's a very hard question. Okay. So people and couples, it's most of this can be applied to you as an individual and as a couple, which makes sense. Manage conflict in a healthy way. And we kind of touched on this already as we've been talking, that disagreements are normal, but the way that we handle it determines whether it's going to make our relationship stronger or weaker, right? I don't know if this looks familiar. So 2 years ago, in the St. Rebecca group, we talked about these 4 horsemen. They're written about by the Gottman, Gottman Institute, a wonderful resource on marriage, lots of great articles on marriage and parenting, and I think from a spiritual Christian view as well. So we're not going to go into this all. We did 4 different talks on this, which tells you how much information is in this. But I'm going to give you a very, very kind of quick overview of what not to do, right? So avoiding, hold on, where am I? Avoiding criticism, right? We said don't use the you always, you never. When you're having healthy discussion, you deal with the issue, not the person, right? We're having a problem with figuring out, who's going to do what in the house, not you don't help, right? We're not criticizing the person. We're talking about this is the issue that's going on. That's a healthy way to have conflict and disagreement. Contempt, which is like rolling your eyes, mocking your spouse, a lack of respect. When it's an unhealthy conflict, there's a lack of respect. So showing appreciation, reminding yourself of the positive qualities, finding gratitude and doing positive things helps in having healthy discussion. Defensiveness, it's not my fault, it's your fault, right? Like, avoid defensiveness. Stay open and realize that you both are imperfect people. So there's fault and there's work on both sides. And then the last one is stonewalling. So if you want healthy discussion, we're not doing these things. So stonewalling is shutting down, refusing to talk, giving them the silent treatment, right? Which is different from taking space when you're arguing and it's the emotions are so high, I need a minute. That's different because you need a minute and you come back, right? If emotions are high, taking a break and coming back, I recommend it, right? I actually usually say no more than 20 minutes because there's a lot of research that says 20 minutes, come back and talk about it. So don't do these things, and we can revisit this in the St. Rebecca group if this is helpful. Focus on the issue, not the person, and look for solutions together, right? You guys, we're a team, and as a team, you want to work together to find solutions, okay? So healthy conflict can be its own talk, actually probably many talks, but just very briefly. That's what I got. I mean, you can go into so much. I'll do the next one, and then, yeah, we talked about that. Couples and people who are resilient have support and have a community. As Christians, we're not meant to do this life alone. And I'll tell you guys, I got the honor of doing a talk for the high school servants on Wednesday. And they asked me to talk about when they were studying the last words of Christ on the cross. So the one that I got assigned was when Jesus said to St. John, behold your mother, and to St. Mary, woman, behold your son. Like, St. John, behold your mother, woman, behold your son, right? And I loved talking about this so much because it tells us that Christ knew that his mother needed support, right? St. Mary was a widow, and at the time, widows, and maybe still are a very vulnerable population, and they weren't treated well by society. So he knew that they needed each other, right? And St. John was his beloved. He loved him so much. He knew there would be sadness, and by that, he's telling us, you need each other, right? He didn't make me as a Christian and put me on this island by myself, figure it out by yourself. I wouldn't be the Christian I am today without the people I've had throughout my life. So again, as a couple, we're not meant to do it alone, right? Seek help from, first of all, the fathers, the priests, and I would say other probably older married couples or couples, either same age or older. There are a lot, marriage has been here since the time of Adam and Eve, technically. Some people are doing a really great job at marriage. Are they perfect? No. But if you have somebody you respect that you can talk to, that is wise, that can really help you. Obviously not, with your spouse's permission to say, I really want to talk to so-and-so about this. I see the way they interact with their spouse, and I really have a lot of respect for them. Are you okay with that? Can we talk to them? Not to take the place of Abuna, for sure, but use your community, use your support. And if things become overwhelming, and even if they're not very overwhelming, seeking couples therapy or counseling is a sign of strength, okay? I'm gonna say that again. Seeking couples therapy is a sign of strength, not a failure. Couples therapy is so helpful. It doesn't mean that you're broken. It doesn't mean that you're bad. It doesn't mean that your marriage is falling apart. It's so helpful.
The Four Horsemen. الفور هورسمان دول كتاب كاتبه دكتور، هو عنده مؤسسة كبيرة للزواج، يعني بيتكلم كتير وكاتب كتب كتيرة، واحنا كنا قلنا محاضرات هنا عنهم. في 4 حاجات هو بيقول دول يدمروا أي أسرة يعني، ودول الحاجات لازم نبعد عنهم في الحوار. أول حاجة اتكلمنا عليها هي النقد، عشان كده قلت لكم السلايد اللي فاتت ما اسمهاش نقد بناء. النقد ان انا على طول اقول انت وانتي واصلك وفصلك، ودايما حكايه ان احنا نتهم اللي قدامنا بحاجه، وعلى طول طالعين نطلع غلط في اللي قدامنا او نطلع فيه مشكله كبيره مش بمحبه او مش هدفها البنيان. تاني واحدة هي الاحتقار شوية في طريقة الكلام والتهكن يعني على اللي قدامي. مش لازم يكون بالكلام، بعض الأحيان تبقى بجسمنا. يعني مراتك داخلة عاجي تتكلم وانت اللي هو ابتدينا تاني يعني، والواحد بقى عنيفه او زهقان او مدي الكتف، او هي تمشي، او الأصوات اللي ممكن تتعمل. فالنوع من الاحتقار ده في العلاقة بيجرح جدا وبيسيب مشاعر سيئة. الحاجة الثالثة هي دايما الدفاع عن النفس، ودي بتحصل في كل حوار. هو داخل هيتخانق، طب انا ايه الرد؟ مش بنسمع اول حاجة، وتاني حاجة ببقى عايزة اطلع الغلط عليها واقول مش انا انت، فبتقلب ان انا بصد على طول، مش بسمع ومش بستوعب، مش بحاول اشوف او اصلح. اخر واحدة هي ان انا اخد جنب واقول انا مش هلعب، يعني ما وطنش خالص. وده بيحصل ان في اسر ما فيها ناس ما بتكلمش بعض بالايام او ما بيفتحوش مواضيع، وتلاقي حد في خصام في البيت. فامريكا بتقول يعني دراسات كتير اتعملت، لو هتتعصب او هتتعصبي او هيحصل مشاعر مش تقدروا تتحكموا فيها، ابعدوا تلت ساعة وارجعوا، بس ما تقعدوش كتير قوي وما يحصلش خصام في البيت. I think الحاجة الأخيرة، دايما لما تدوروا على حلول سوا، دوروا على الحلول مع بعض. كل واحد فيكم يفكر، مش حد واحد، لازم الاتنين يقبلوا. واللي أهم من ده وده إن في أي حوار دايما نتكلم على المشكلة، بلاش نهاجم الشخص. يعني زوجي أو زوجتي مش هم المشكلة، في مشكلة معينة، في موقف معين هو اللي حاصل، فلوس ناقصة في البيت، حاجة ليها دعوة بالعيال، حاجة أسرية. كلموا عن المشكلة مش الأشخاص. فالمشكلة كذا، هنحلها ازاي، هنعمل ايه، انت هتعمل ايه وانا هعمل ايه، مش الشخص. I think that's okay. Yeah. الحاجة التانية طبعا هي كانت بتقول احنا مش في مجتمع، مش معمولين ان احنا نبقى معزولين، ويسوع خلقنا في مجتمع، والكنيسة مجتمع. وكانت تتكلم على لما يسوع سلم العذراء ليوحنا، ويوحنا العذراء على الصليب، كانت نوع من انواع السند والمعونه. فدايما دوروا على السند والمعونه في الاباء موجودين، الكهنه، او مع ناس اكبر منكم سنا يعني شكلهم ناجح في الحياه الزوجيه. بقول شكلهم لان مفيش حد 100 يعني، مفيش حد، بس الدنيا ماشيه يعني، قادرين يشيلوا الشيله ويجروا بيها يعني.
Okay, this is my last point, and last but most important, I would say. That's okay. The what?
يعني المرحلة الثالثة هي إن ممكن نطلب من حد أخصائي نقعد معاه. دي مش معناها ضعف، ومش معناها إن الجوازة بتنهار، ومش معناها يا لهوي أنا هروح وأفضح مشاكلي قدام حد. لأ، دي نقطة قوة، إن بيبقى معناها إن الزوج والزوجة عايزين يحاربوا من أجل علاقتهم، وإن الشخص المتخصص ده هيبقى زي الرف كده، هيقدر يحكم ما بينهم ويلفت النظر لحاجات معينة هم مش سامعينها من بعض.
This is the last point, and then the kids are coming, and they're already coming. Last but most important is the resilient couples strengthen their spiritual Christian Coptic Orthodox bond, right? Praying together as a family, even if it's just 1 minute, even if you're in bed, even if it's in the, even inviting Christ into your marriage strengthens your bond, for sure. Attending the liturgy, I know that a lot of us, because of work, have different schedules. And sometimes we can't take communion at the same liturgy. That's okay, as long as you're taking communion. Even one is on a Monday and one is on a Sunday. If it's possible to go together, great. If not, that's okay. Reading the Bible together as a couple and as a family, and serving each other. And setting aside for individual spiritual growth. So I'll say this last part. When your faith is strong, right, your marriage becomes a reflection of Christ's love, a bond that is resilient and grows through every challenge, okay? I think this could be its own talk as well. So I don't know, yeah. I think they got it, but just
آخر وأهم نقطة هي إن يسوع يبقى في وسط الأسرة. صلوا سوا دايما. الأسرة اللي حاطة يسوع في وسطيها وعمل الروح القدس في وسطيها مش ممكن تتهز. والروح القدس هو اللي بيدينا المرونة، يعني يسوع هو اللي بيكمل نقائصنا وبيساعدنا نتخطى ضعفاتنا ونشوف بعض بمنظور تاني مظبوط وقوي وفيه مرونة. مش ما تعتمدوش على نفسكم، صلوا ولو دقيقة في البيت، دايما اعزموا ربنا يكون في وسطيكوا. احضروا قداسات كتير، تناولوا مع بعض كأسرة بقدر الإمكان، اقروا الإنجيل سوا لأن ده بيخضع الإنسان وبيخجله بشكل تاني. مناولة؟ right. اوكي. ماري بتقول مش مشكلة لو مش تحضروا قداس سوا. بتحصل، يعني الناس مش بتبقى مواعيدها مظبوطة مع بعض على حسب ظروف الشغل وكده. ودايما دوروا على الحكمة من جوه الكنيسة ومن جوه الحياة اللي موجودة ومن الإنجيل وحاجات زي كده.
Sorry guys, I didn't leave a lot of time for questions, but if you have questions, feel free. If you want to come up after, feel free. I might have to leave and go pick up Jacob from work, so I'm waiting. I think I can stay. So if you have questions, or if, you know, off the topic, if you have something that you want to talk about, if I brought up something and you said, oh, I wish we could talk about that more, please tell me or Hiba or Evelyn or any other servants. Okay. I think that is its own talk, so that I will, we can take that as a talk. That's a good talk. Yeah. Okay. Let's do the, yeah. Because I can't answer that in 4 minutes. I can answer it, but not in 4 minutes. You want to, yeah. Huh? No, I said we're going to make it its own talk. No, I'm saying communion. Oh, Bible. Yeah, and yeah.
الحاجة اللي اتعودت عليها مع حياتي. فدي مهمة مع أنا آسفة ميريا مش بس يعني بدي كده
Let's pick. Everybody, get your tickets out. Get your tickets out. Okay, the first one is 5796. 5796. Moros. Moros got it. Okay, next one. Next one is 5780. 5780. Going once. Oh, yeah, right there. 80. He has it. I don't know. I said he already has it, so I don't think you could. I'm so sorry. Maybe this one will be the winner. We'll see. Okay. The next one is 5783. 5783. Thank you. 5783. 5783. No, going once, going twice. All right, I'm gonna do next one. Ready? Next one is 5800. 5800. All the way in the back.
ممكن اقول حاجه؟ يعني احنا واخدين على بعض كده اسم الصليب، ما تقولوا حد يقف يقول لنا بالعربي ايه اللي بيتقال. يعني ارفعوا ايديكم، ممكن عربي ممكن ريكاب، لان في مواضيع بتتقال. العيال مش عايزين يتكلم. في مواضيع بتتقال، المواضيع اللي بيبقى فيها حوار ما بينكم وما بين الاولاد بنفضل نبقى التوك بالانجلش، ويمكن احنا غلط يعني قولوا لنا، علشان انتوا يو ويل بروبابلي هتعملوا الحوار ده بالانجلش مع العيال. يعني اي حاجه فيها ترمينولوجي او في حوار مطول مع العيال بنقوله بالانجلش، لان انتوا 90% هيتقال الحوار ما بينكم وما بين العيال بالانجلش. بس بالنسبه للحاجات التانية بليز، يعني اي وقت في اي حاجه حكوا معانا، يعني الموضوع رايح راجع ببساطه. empowering you.
في اتنين مش عايزين يجوا بسبب الانجليزي. وده اكسيوس بسرعه وابونا بتقوس اظن طيبين النهارده عيدهم. اكسيوس او خلي بالنا اكسيوس. يلا
طب انا اقول تمجيد البابا شنودة النهارده كل سنه وانتم طيبين، ويا ابونا فلتاوس السرياني وبابا كرولوس عشان الاسبوع اللي فات. اتفضلوا نقف مع بعض كده نقول باركنا كي كيريا ليسون كيريا ليسون أليسون. وأخيرا يا رب وليس آخرا اجعلنا مستحقين أن نقول بالشكر يا أبانا الذي في السماوات تقدس اسمك تكن مشيئتك كما في السماء كذلك على الأرض. خبزنا الذي غدا أعطينا اليوم واغفر لنا ذنوبنا كما نغفر نحن المذنبين إلينا لا تدخلنا في تجربة لكن نجينا من الشرير بالمسيح يسوع ربنا أن لك الملك والقوة والمجد للأبد.
I don't know why I felt I know. I didn't need it. I don't know why I felt like it was heavy.
بادي بيلدر.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to undermine you. أحطها هنا في أي حتة.
هنا هو مكان جنب السيت.